Okay, life game design reflection number 2. Let's go. Just want to check that I'm actually live. There we go. Cool. All right. So yeah, again, this is just a space for me to get all of my thoughts out on all of the different areas of life, reflect on them, see what I've done during the week, how I feel about what I've done during the week, especially within all of these different areas of life. Um, and I guess the easiest way for me to explain such an elaborate system as the special system, as you see here, is for me to literally just talk about my experience with it. And so I think for a lot of people, maybe it can seem overwhelming, but I guess I'm very clear in that I designed the system for gamers who are used to complicated systems because they know that it can help them achieve so much more complexity within each of these key areas that once you use it and you get used to it, just like any like game system that you've ever or game leveling system or game class system that you've ever used, the more you use it, the more you understand about it, the more that you can specialize in a specific area and understand more nuance about that. And so I see a lot of, I guess, productivity planners keep things at the level of health, wealth, relationships. And with those three areas, key things that they miss is things like your experience when you go out to watch a new movie, or you go out, go for a hike or something, and then stuff like things that you need to manage for your household. It misses a lot of those basic things, and while it's really easy to remember health, wealth, relationships, it doesn't allow you the depth of the system here, which is special. And so if you've ever played Fallout, you'll know exactly the correlation that I've made within the special system, but I've added an extra C to it. So Bethesda can't come at me for that copyright. I've also tied it to the Infinity Stones, and there's a video on my channel that explains all of these super in depth. But for this reflection, again, this is just a space for me to mind, just like get all the thoughts out of my brain from the week. So I'm gonna get right to it. So the way that I built my template, and I guess the philosophy of life game design is that we have 8 buckets of life, four that are essential, and then four that are elevators. And that if you ignore the four essential concepts of life, the areas of life, your life's gonna get pretty screwed up really quickly. If you ignore the elevating attributes, it doesn't really matter that much as long as you are focusing on your essential ones. And so yeah, I just want to go through the projects that I've been working on this week. And when I say projects, it's like anything between goals, memories, and actual like work projects. Because life game design is the system to really holistically manage your whole life, from the range of the areas that you're focusing on, to the projects that you're working on, to the memories that you're making, to the tasks that you have to do, and even the notes and the web clips that you pick up from the internet, all to consolidate them into one space instead of having like separate apps for all of those different things. So this has really helped me gain clarity in where I want to direct my attention in life, and also helped me, I guess, the stress of just like trying to do a reflection like this based on all of these different mediums, and just putting it all into one place so I can really, from a bird's eye level, just see what's been going on in my life. So yeah, I guess we'll just start. This is my template that I use to do these weekly reflections. And so I've just got my areas here. That's kind of a display for you guys so you can see what it's about. I do have like little descriptions here. I hope you can see that. Um, if you feel like, pause the video, even though it's live, if you're watching after the live, and you can see those descriptions, but you'll see it as I go through this reflection as well. Over here, I've got my projects, tasks, and notes that I've taken throughout the week, just in a few different views. just so again I can see like the top down view of where my focus has been directed to. So the first thing I set up with is clicking this template to create this reflection space, and it comes up with all the questions. And then, yeah, the first thing I do with these reflections is just what are the wins that I had throughout this week? Pretty plain and simple. And so I look at my habits on my phone. Unfortunately, I can't share the screen for that. But yeah, in terms of my habits, my focus right now is doing my full workout, doing 4 hours of deep work, um, almost every day, and also meditation, and sleeping on time, which has actually been a difficult one for me this week, and we'll go into that. So yeah, I just start from the top down of the special system over here in terms of wins for the week. So definitely completing my full workout habits all week. And I'm actually feeling like I'm getting to the point where I dread not going to the gym more than I dread going to the gym. If I like I've had days where I don't really feel like going to the gym, and that was like probably a few months ago when I was managing an injury. Now that that injury's like pretty much healed, I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about any of the repercussions of overtraining, and I can just push myself, and I've like had so much more fun in the gym because of that. Because I've been dealing with the injury for about 2 years on my shoulder and tendonitis, and it's finally sorted itself out. I was doing a year of physio that, even though they were great physiotherapists, it was a problem that I believe Western medicine couldn't fix. And until I started using the other attribute of my life, which is life force, my meditation, that is the thing that really helped start to heal it a lot more. And this is probably something I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive on, because the realization I got from the mind and body connection that we have with ourselves is something that you can't just say very shallowly without a lot of context to go with it. Otherwise, it just sounds like you're talking out of your ass, basically. But I think with all the books that have come out in recent years, things like The Body Keeps the Score, especially, is one of the hallmarks of this whole mind-body connection, as in problems of the mind that manifest into physical ailments of the body. It is where I've really understood it in my own life with this injury, and with the progress that I've made since stopping physiotherapy and doing more inner work on myself. So yeah, in terms of strength, yeah, completing my full workout all the time. I've had like my energy hasn't been the best, I guess. So when I think about strength, I think about physical and general health. The first thing, obviously, because I'm tracking my habits in terms of going to the gym, but also one of the biggest ROI things that I track is my sleep, because I have a Whoop. And even though I've invested that much money into buying a Whoop, it doesn't mean that it's just going to give me good sleep. And one of the things I'm tracking on my habits is whether I'm sleeping on time or not, and I actually haven't. So that has been a struggle, because when I look at my habit tracker on that, um, the times where I haven't slept on time, those have been times where it's been in my control, but I'm not disciplining myself enough. I'm making excuses for all of those things. And so, yeah, I think next week, in the realignment part of it, that's something I really want to focus on. And how can I how can I make going to bed on time a lot more enticing than I find it at the moment? Because usually what happens is that I think I have so much to do, or there's something that I want to do, but it's not very important. But in the moment, it feels like I really should do it, and so I stay up later and later, and then it causes me efficiency for the next day, which doesn't really help me out in the long run. But literally, just saying that, just getting that out of my mind, helps me understand where my head has been at for the past few days. And so persistence, which is life routines and housework. I last week I had a leak in my carpet, and that leak is pretty much all cleared up. So again, when people when people have their project and task managers, especially some other Notion templates that I've seen that organize the areas of life that you have, no one ever makes a section for things like either life routines or like literally like your house, your car, and those kind of things. That's what I label under persistence, because it's a really important factor of your life that if you don't take care of it, again, it's not going to be um, insanely detrimental, but taking care of it makes sure that everything else runs smoothly. That's why I tie it to the space stone, because it's about how you manage the space around you, and also to the element of water, because you want your life to flow. And then experience. I've actually got to check out what I've been doing. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, that reminds me. And I should actually start it over here. So experience is external, all your external activities that you do. So things like playing games, watching anime, going for a hike outside, even going to events and stuff like that. Yeah, literally all your external things. So I actually started watching Black Clover, which is the anime that I've been sleeping on for a while. Um, and the start was pretty horrible to get through because of the voice acting, but after that, it picked up really well. I'm liking it. I think I'll keep on going. At the same time, I'm also watching Jujutsu Kaisen's new season, the Shibuya incident, and that has been popping off. And that's ending in around, I believe, December. So I've been watching that every week and enjoying that. I also went hiking as well with my friend, just around this place in his house, and it was such a beautiful, even though it was like quite deep in the city, more like city suburban area. As soon as we got deep into the forest, it just felt like I was in the middle of nowhere. And I really just enjoyed being in nature. Yeah, so that was actually really nice. Hiking and watching Black Clover. So again, this is not an essential area of life, but it's an elevating area of life, meaning that while I didn't have to go hiking to do my job or anything like that, or just to live, or I didn't have to quote unquote waste my time watching anime, because that's what a lot of self development people say, is that if you play games or watch anime, you're just fucking wasting your life. But they go out and drink alcohol, and they go out and smoke fucking cigars and shit like that. Um, Bit of a rant, but anyway, these things can elevate your life from the joy and the relaxation you get out of them. And so, like I said, a lot of project managers don't track these things. So if you feel like you've been focusing a lot of it on your experience, and you've actually been enjoying it, but you don't actually record it down for yourself, then it makes you think that you've literally done nothing with your life, basically. And yeah, moving on to creativity. So this is your passion. This is your purpose. And what it comes down to is like how you creatively express yourself. And basically for me, my creativity at the moment is this channel. It's life game design. It's making these frameworks and philosophies for life to better understand it and actually have something actionable that you can do. Because I love philosophies and I love frameworks, but if they're not actionable, it doesn't do anything for me. It just becomes wisdom in the wind that passes you by. So, yeah, that's what this whole thing is about. Creating templates like this for people to actually tangibly change their lives. And me going through this reflection is literally me playtesting it myself. So yeah, for creativity, I released the base MVP of this whole life game design template. I'll show you the cover page of my one at least. This is what it looks like when I come to my page. I've got my navigation bar here for all the different areas of life, as they have their own pages where you can organize all your areas, projects, tasks, and notes in. And also any other like database things. I'm currently developing a weightlifting program with my friend, and so I'm keeping the database in the strength section on this page, which has really helped because I've got a lot of other resources in my notes around that I've been using for that. And this is also where I have all the different views to help me manage mostly, the projects, tasks, and notes. And so next week I'm going to be testing this out with a few close friends of mine who have been interested in this. And yeah, we're gonna go through. I'm gonna see how they use it. I'll see what they really like, see what they don't like, and leave it out. And then eventually, I think by the second week of December, I want to release it out for you guys to use so you can plan ahead for your new year. Think about what you want to achieve within the next year within all of these different areas of life. Make a plan for it and actually go out there and do it. So yeah, I released the base of the MVP, the minimum viable product for life game design. And next week I'll be able to, literally see how my friends use it and see what they like and what they don't like and all that good stuff. Contribution. So contribution is literally your work. It's your contribution to society, and it also envelops other like charitable events and stuff like that. This is a core. This is a essential attribute. All of these I call attributes. And like I said before, they're either essential attributes, they're your core, or they're your elevating. And contribution is definitely a core. And so the interesting thing about that is that I actually left my job on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday was the last day of work for me because I decided to put more points into my creativity to actually make it into my contribution. So the interesting thing about those two is that they're like quite tightly linked. Creativity and contribution, you always need the two together, but they always need to be separate. So when I think about contribution, it's like your bill paying work. But also you want to turn that into something that is more attuned to your creativity. And so the job I had was actually amazing. I was working at a burger place called Wise Boys, and because I'm a chef, I was essentially overqualified for the position. So that meant, and because the owner was so amazing, I was able to wear my headphones while I worked during the whole time. So I read books. I listened to books every single day while I worked, and I learned so much. I listened to books, I listened to podcasts, and I've learned so much about all of these different areas of life that I literally developed the different areas of life based on all of the experiences that I've listened to from these amazing podcasters, from these amazing authors who talk about all of these areas without actually directly naming them. And from the pieces that I took from all of that wisdom, I understood when they talk about romance and family, I know that they're talking about attachment. When they're talking about their mental health, their spirituality, they're talking about their life force. I learned that when they're talking about their routines and their habits, they're talking about their persistence, all of that kind of stuff. So this is I say that to say this isn't some random system that I've just guessed up. I've been working on what these areas actually mean for essentially the last 3 years of looking into my own life, gaining wisdom from helping my friends with their lives, and understanding how they all play within each other. Anyways, so yeah, a big thing was leaving that job to pursue this full time because I'm giving myself about 6 months to actualize this whole thing, this whole YouTube channel, this whole idea and philosophy of life game design. I'm giving myself 6 months to basically get it running into a business, and I want to turn this new creativity that I have into my contribution, basically. So yeah, leaving Wise Boys. And I had a really good chat with the owner just before I left, and with all my workmates there, talking to them about what I was doing, and my hopes for them as well, because it's an amazing place. I loved working there. The only reason why I left is because I've had to leave Auckland. If I didn't, I would have stayed. Because I love just being able to do my work and listen to my audiobooks. Because I love, standing up, going through the motions of cooking, and also being able to stimulate myself intellectually at the same time. And so, yeah, I guess a good segue into intelligence is talking about things I've been reading. So, one of the books I've been reading at the moment is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I'm up to the third habit, which is essentially thinking of first things first. The easiest way to distill that into a framework that's actionable is the Eisenhower matrix. And so the Eisenhower matrix, let's see if we can find it. The Eisenhower matrix shows you a hierarchy of importance and what you should do. And so it looks like this. It's a little bit ugly here, but it works. So you have these factors, which are urgent, not urgent, important, not important. And so if it's important and urgent, you do it right now. If it's important but not urgent, you decide when you're going to do it. If it's urgent but not important, you get someone else to do it for you. But honestly, that's more of like a business owner thing. With these things, you try to get them out as easily as possible. And then all these things, it's not that you would delete it, but you schedule them last. So especially other areas of life like experience. If I'm going out for a hike, I will schedule all of the more important things that I need to do. And then when it comes to my not important, not urgent aspect of life of experience, which is going for a hike or something like that, then I'll time block it. Right at the end. So I make sure I have these two done first. So back to the reflection. Wins for the week was reinforcing my learning on the Eisenhower matrix. Yeah, and another thing I learned, another thing I really enjoyed listening to, I read the book last week, Attached. I can't remember the author, but it's the book that describes all of the attachment styles. And there was an amazing podcast on the Diary of a CEO with Logan Ury. She is the author of this book, How to Not Die Alone. I haven't read it. But from her podcast, I know it's on my list now, definitely. And she talks. She's a, I believe, possibly a data scientist from Hinge, the dating app, and she was talking about attachment styles and also optimizing styles. Um, and that is so relevant to my life, to my friends' lives, which we'll actually talk about in attachment. So I have a project that's called Sitting in the Mud, because this is an idea from Simon Sinek on his podcast, again with Diary of a CEO. You'll notice the theme here. That is my number one favorite podcast in the world at the moment, because everything that Stephen Bartlett talks about is always so spot on with what I'm experiencing in life. And he gets on the most profound, amazing guests. Anyway, Simon Sinek, on, I believe, his third guest appearance on the Diary of a CEO podcast, he talked to Stephen about him feeling lonely, which was really almost odd to find from a person like him who must have a insane amount of wealth in the form of social relationships, because he's such a prolific author and he's so famous, I guess. To put it simply, you would think that it would be extremely difficult for him to feel lonely, but he opened up about it a lot. And one thing he talked about within that was not that people could approach him and try to fix him, but that he just felt like he needed to sit in the mud. There was nothing he could do to get quote unquote out of the mud. He just needed to sit in it, because it wasn't the time for him to just go out and fix whatever he was experiencing. Again, with that notion that the body is so connected to the mind that our body gives us signals about what's happening in our mind when we can't understand exactly what's going on. And so I had a friend who went through that experience of sitting in the mud. And I guess in my past, I've always tried to just fix from the outset. If I see someone with a problem, I will give them a framework. This is how you fix the problem, da da da. Done. Let's move on. But this wasn't an issue where we could do that. This was an issue that really made me think about that podcast I watched. And it really made me think, yeah, we just had to sit in the mud together. And only after I spent that time to actually do that with him, then he actually got so much out of it. I have another framework that is to do with, I guess, my interpretation of mental health, which is that we have the mind, the subconscious mind of a child, and the conscious will of a parent. And so basically, whenever I think of all of these people who have gone through a very hard emotional experience and have come out of it better on the end, the first thing they do is go into their childhood. And when I think, what changes about us when we become an adult? Honestly, there's nothing, because I know adults who act constantly like children. If you go on Facebook comments, you'll see it straight away. If you go on almost any social media comment section, you'll see it straight away. People who cannot control their emotions and just react to everything. That's essentially what children do. And so I feel like becoming an adult is understanding that you are going to have these impulses to react to things, but you acknowledge it and you do the thing that benefits you in the long term. That's essentially what our parents did for us when we were children. And so when I think what they're raising us to be is independent, and what independent means is that you understand that you're almost raising yourself in a way. You have your inner child inside of you that you need to listen to. Those are your subconscious thoughts that come to your mind. And the more that you distance yourself from those thoughts, the less they can take over your state of being. Because you'll feel it when you're really tired. You'll just almost go on autopilot. And that's exactly the experience I had with not going to sleep on time. At the start of the week, it was really good, but as I lost more and more sleep, I wasn't making the decisions that my conscious mind would make because I was letting my inner child take over, basically. And so the reason why I use the parent-child analogy is because it's really easy to intuitively understand how our mental health works if we analogize it to a parent-child relationship, but we have that relationship within ourselves. So I think if you're, going through a problem, like let's say something to do with bad habits, and you're trying to fix that habit and it feels hard, basically it's like a parent telling a child to completely change who they are in the flip of a switch. And we know that's not going to happen. And we know that that kid is going to fight back at us. So these are the times where it feels like our mind is working against us. When, if we think logically, if we are our thoughts, why would they work against us if we're both in the same body and we both want to survive, etc.? I guess that's the limitation of thinking of it that way. But if you think of it as a parent-child relationship, you understand why the mind would fight against itself in that kind of way. Anyways, yeah, I helped that friend really, really understand what the pain of his inner child was. And through that, he completely transformed his relationship. And I was just so happy to see him go through that. And not only that, for him to trust me being that vulnerable as well. And so with my own my own inner child, I think the thing that I understood this week was another very deep conversation that I've had with someone who I was previously very close to. We ended up talking about, I guess, things that held us back from being more honest with each other. And from that realization, I understood a lot of things that my inner child reacts very badly to as triggers. If you've seen Atomic Habits, you'll know the whole cue, craving, response, reward dynamic, where it can work for you or it can work against you. And basically, the cue and the craving, response, and the reward are all done subconsciously. And again, I think about a child who reacts on that kind of impulsive loop. And if we want to interfere with that loop, we have to step in as a parent. And it's going to be hard if your kid has a habit to try and encourage them to change that. And so it starts off with understanding the cue. So I've understood more of the cues that prevent me from literally just going to sleep early because of the whole attachment dynamic that I have with people. That whole bit of self-discovery and the work that I need to do with that is really something that keeps popping up in my life, but also something that I want to spend more time thinking about. So my connection with my inner child. The best way that I've found to do this is literally just through meditation. And again, I didn't understand exactly why you would meditate until I looked at my mental health through that lens of the parent and the child, because I imagine that before I did anything like meditation where I just sit down with my thoughts, with my inner child, before then, it was pretty much exactly the same as when you give a kid, when a parent gives their kid an iPad because they don't want to engage with them, because maybe they're scared of engaging with them. That's the exact same kind of dynamic that goes on when people say that they can't meditate because they can't sit with their thoughts. They're too afraid of facing their inner child, is what I hear from that now, basically. And so, yeah, whenever I don't meditate, I can feel more negativity coming about in the terms of like negative thoughts and things like that, because imagine a child that never gets to speak for the whole day to their parent. That parent just ignores them. How are they going to react to that parent when they finally give them time to get their emotions out? It's probably not going to be good. But if you proactively go out and give a child that space to speak and like dump all the things that they're thinking about of, then you'll get a better relationship out of it. And that's exactly how I feel with my meditation. I do this every time straight after the gym. So it's time for me to cool down my body at the same time. But yeah, it's actually been really good. I get to 10 minutes and I feel like I should keep going, but I've been so busy. I would like to maybe next week, now that I've left my job and I'm working on this full time. Anyways, what lessons did I learn from things that didn't quite go right? This is kind of what I've been talking about the whole time, but it's definitely to do with not getting sleep. At the moment, it's 11 p.m. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand, and I usually sleep around 9. I did have a call with my brother-in-law to go over the template. Wow, that's actually something I missed on my projects, which was, yeah, literally going over that with him. So I should put that in my creativity. We were going over the business plan, and I guess my roadmap for delivering the template. But back to what didn't go right. Again, it's not sleeping on time due to... Man, this is really difficult. I have to be raw because this is live, and I need to say it for myself too. Um, but due to my anxious attachment style of, and this is to do with like all my, like if I message my mate, and I'm waiting for a reply, I'll like wait instead of actually just like going to bed, even though the reply doesn't have to be instant. Um, because I guess my inner child doesn't feel comfortable knowing there's like a lack of connection with someone. Um, when that has happened in the past, I would usually watch like random videos to distract myself, but I wouldn't be conscious of that whole thought process. Um, I would just like I said, it's the analogy. I would just let the kid take over and do whatever he wanted because I didn't want to consciously think of taking responsibility. And so, if I think about this like a parent child dynamic, that kid in me doesn't want to sleep on time. So that means I need to encourage that child to want to do that. So, I think, like, what are the things that actually get me relaxed to go to sleep? Or what are the things that I can do to prevent myself having that anxiousness around sleep? And so for me, it's like putting on lo-fi music, turning off the lights way before, planning my day ahead, again, way before I actually go to sleep and stuff like that. How well did I stick to my plan and stay focused? I hesitated, so I know I didn't entirely spend a lot of time intentionally, and it has to do with exactly what I mentioned. So I think throughout the week, throughout the day, I had great focus, but as I got more tired, I did less focus work and started doing irrelevant activities. Um, okay. So we always like to end on a positive, especially with going through these things that are really hard. One, to admit, but two, to correct as well. And so I always ask my friends this: what inspired you this week? And that is definitely, like I said before, that podcast on Diary of a CEO with Logan Ury. It's his latest release, I believe. So if you just go to his channel, you'll see it. But that was, yeah, that really, really hit hard. That really hit hard and really inspired me. Okay, realignment. Let's get this shit on. What is the number one thing I need to accomplish next week? So next week I'm going to be getting feedback from my template from all of the people who are interested. And so the number one thing I need to do is collect all the feedback from the template. Yeah, collect all the feedback from the template. What specific learning do I need to do for next week's task? Can't think of specific learning at this point. But I guess one thing would be streamlining the sharing of the template and testing a free sales page. Because at the moment, while I'm developing it, and to anyone who I work with to test it out, I will be working with them and giving them the template for free. But I do need to test how it would work on a sales platform like Gumroad, because I know you can get them to a sales page, but then just like have it for the give it to them for free on that page, just so it's more I guess realistic to the experience that they would have in the end. So that's some learning that I could do. And what is a task that I can do that will make next week less stressful? For me, that looks like sleep. I mean, it's not necessarily a task, but it definitely will reduce my stress. So whenever I think of something like I need to sleep, okay, well, what is the actual actionable part of sleeping? It's one, it's going to bed early. Two, it's I think the biggest thing is if I plan my next day at 5 p.m. You know what? I'm actually gonna set an alarm that goes off every day at 5 o'clock for me to plan the next day. Because if I don't do that, then I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's go off the rails. I would say. That's the easiest way to explain it. I just go off the rails. I, yeah, I find it so much harder to stay in line, to realign. So this realignment is not only weekly, I need to do it daily as well. And I think if I do that and I take the time to do my journaling at that time as well, then just that mind dump will help me relax my mind and my body to not feel that odd anxiousness of the next day. So I don't feel like I'm doing random stuff to make up for it or whatever. So, I'll let you guys know how that works next week because I'm going to keep that alarm on. What is on my not to do list? Sleep late, probably. Um, is there anything else on my not to do list? I'm actually glad that I have to think about this because before, there was a lot of stuff that I had to put on my not to do list, because I was being very unproductive. So I guess I don't want to do not important or not urgent tasks to do with the template because there is so much that I've put into the template in my own one. This is my personal one here, that I've put in that aren't exactly essential to the minimum viable product that I'm releasing, so my friends can use it. But I do have that urge to put all of those things in, just because I want it to be perfect. And the bad thing about that is that I'm making it perfect by my own standard, but I don't know what other people actually need. So I have to go through the pain of getting the feedback of like, oh, this kind of sucks. I want it like this. But if I do get that feedback, that means I know exactly what I need to optimize for instead of just guessing. So what will I replace this with? Using my own template and Eisenhower matrix. So in my template, in my project management, I have an Eisenhower matrix for pretty much each of my views. So if we go to today, the priority, it looks like this. And so, yeah, the first thing I do during the day is like set, okay, what is the top priority for today? And those were these two. Let's actually mark them as done. Here we go. And the live reflection, let's call that done because we're doing that right now. And the same thing with the launch. Let's go. Templates, Eisenhower. Okay. What am I looking forward to for next week? My friend, I guess I won't mind. He won't mind if I say his name. My friend Lachlan has been really excited to use this because I've been building it alongside him. We do deep work sessions together on this where we both jump in a Discord call. We set a period of work that we need to do for either 30 minutes or an hour. We both mute our mics and we just get to work on it. And then after every hour or 30 minutes, we just reflect on what we got done and what we want to do for the next session. So he's been seeing me work on this all the time, and I've been talking to him especially about the different special areas, and he's just super into it, which I'm really glad because I feel like I love this system, but I don't know if anyone else is as excited about it as I am, but I've really seen that from him, so I'm really excited to share the template with Lachlan. Because there's so much stuff that he's been wanting to plan to do for the next year, that I really want to help him with. And I really want to see how this template can help him on another level as if it were compared to, doing the more basic Notion template style of just having work, business, and personal. I guess when you think of areas, those are like the key ones that I've seen. But I really want to see how the special system can help him, one, advance all of those even more than he would, but also find way more fulfillment within his day-to-day life and week to week and beyond that as well. Because that's exactly pretty much what I've found for myself, especially with doing this. Whenever I do these projects, when I look at my board and when I look at the week and where I've spent my time based on all these areas, it gives me a gauge of like, what do I actually find fulfilling? And that's exactly why I decided to do these weekly reflections, because I love just talking about this stuff, but I also love recording it down. But I don't like recording it down by myself without talking. So with this space, it just lets me do both of those. Um, and it's just so good. I imagine that I'm gonna do this for a long time because these weekly reflections have absolutely changed my life, and the ones that I've done with my boys, it's changed their lives too. So, yeah, I guess that's what I'm grateful for, which is the last question. The space to reflect on my week and get my thoughts out. Because I feel like I've been talking for like at least 40 minutes. And if I didn't have the space to just like get all of that brain dump out there, that would have just been sitting in my mind for so long. And I know how that translates to how it affects your body and how it affects your mood and stuff like that. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me on this weekly reflection. And if you are someone who's interested in the template, just leave a comment or reach out to me on my Instagram, which is also Life Game Design. And honestly, I would love to share this with you to help you design your own life. Cool. All right.